Hi everyone, it's me, Ian from the Postal Hub podcast.
And Marek from Last Mile
And we
Experts.
are the last mile prophets. And today, Marek, we are looking at what's happening with Google in the last mile. Now, I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but thanks to our good friends at COVID, there's been an explosion in e-commerce and a lot of focus on the last mile and even a lot of focus on what Amazon's doing in the last mile. But the question is, what is Google doing in e-commerce? And could Google challenge Amazon in e-commerce? And what is holding it back? The answer is probably not technology, Marek.
Absolutely. And I think, what we started with is really relevant. What Google is doing in the last mile, I think what they're not doing, because they're not doing, in my view, enough. And that's the key inhibitor, because on the tech side, they have, I believe, several advantages over Amazon. But on the last mile, I think they've got a long way to go.
So Google, we've seen that Google, when you do a Google search for a product, you'll get a list of suggested products and prices and all these sorts of things. And Google probably has the tech to pull all of this together, but it's not got any real, well, I say it hasn't got any capability in the last mile. It's got these silly drones that fly through the sky.
You know what, Ian? I think what they have a huge advantage at the front end, which is the fact that they're agnostic. So if you think of through the eyes of a last mile person, it's like an agnostic network. They're open to everyone, and they're not seen as a competitor in the way that Amazon might be by particularly smaller e-tailers. The issue they've got is, whereas Amazon has invested a lot of time and a hell of a lot of money in the last mile and getting that delivery experience right, these guys haven't done it yet. And I think this is the key discussion. And you get tens of articles on, how Google can compete with Amazon, but very few of them talk about the last mile.
But this is a crucial thing. Amazon has realized that the only place that you touch the customer is in the last mile. So what we've also, at risk of going back to a previous conversation, eBay, again, another e-commerce giant, never nailed it in the last mile. So I guess the question is, what could Google do?
Absolutely, and I think you're right, and that is the big question at the moment. And I think what they could and should do in the short term is do exactly what they've done in terms of sourcing products and displaying them. What they're great at is the tech side, and they could basically link in with every possible carrier of every type, including the standard ones and the non-standard ones, both local, national, international, and offer a sort of an unbelievable delivery experience because they have access to so many potential partners. So an asset-light model where effectively they become like a super broker or super consolidator, having interfaces with every possible type of last mile delivery agent.
But that's an interesting point there about having an interface with every single delivery agent, because we often hear about the e-commerce players wanting to get one relationship. So they have one relationship with or a number of relationships. So if you're in Australia, you might have one relationship with Australia Post. If you're in the USA, you might have USPS, UPS, and FedEx. So this is sort of fragmenting it more. From an e-commerce retailer's perspective, they'll say, well, look, I don't want to deal with a gig economy delivery service, a regional player and a national player and all of this. So how can that be overcome?
Well, absolutely. And imagine that Google uses its unsurpassed technological skills to interface with everyone. And when I say standard and non-standard could be people who typically wouldn't do it. So some of the Uber Eats type guys. At the same time, with the small retailers, they could also, particularly in some geographies, maybe the less developed ones, have an understanding whereby those smaller retailers who would be online with them can offer delivery options or pickup options. The sky is the limit, and they could do something really dramatic and really disruptive. But you've got to have the vision.
Now, Google has got its in-home technology, the equivalent of Alexa. It's got the search technology. Would it have to pull it all together in a new platform? I know we're not. This is we're last mile people. We should really be focusing more on the last mile. But there's the customer experience doesn't just finish with the last mile. It begins well before the last mile. And if we're talking about competing with Amazon, the customer experience starts at the moment that you enter the website, right?
Yeah, I mean, Ian, in some of the workshops, we used the video of Alexa Dash and showed how it's a complete solution. And I think it needs to start with something like that, whereby, the customer has such a wonderful customer experience. It's so easy to make the purchase that it's effectively a complete one-stop solution. But what I was going to say, because I think this is a huge subject, it's an interesting one. It can be split up into bits, and within our probably 1 or 2 minutes we've got left, we won't make it. But if people find it of interest, let's see what comments come up, and we could do, dedicated video casts on specific elements of what they need to do.
Well, there's things like, we've just talked about last mile purely in terms of delivering to the doorstep. There's PUDOs. There's, should Google have its own carrier agnostic parcel locker network and put itself in direct competition with the other players that are out there, including Amazon?
Ian, but listen to this, or imagine with their worldwide competence, what if they integrated all of the independent networks and suddenly you could have the whole of Europe, which is the holy grail. No one's managed to do it. And then the next stage, the whole of the developed world. So
there's a lot here to chew on. I think I really want to quickly mention before we wrap this up. There's a Russian tech company. I'm going to call them Yandex. I'm not sure if that's exactly how you pronounce it, but they've gone into this as well, pulling together local deliveries of locally sourced products and doing it via local couriers, and even doing some robot delivery. So there is a precedent there for a tech company getting into this. I mean, you could say that Amazon's a tech company, but they also sell their own stuff, whereas Google doesn't really, apart from their speakers. What does Google sell? So I think there is a precedent there for a tech company to get into it.
And I think you're absolutely right. The disruption will come from the tech side. And remember, in some of the workshops we've been doing, what we've realized is that today, the last mile, actually, it's all about tech. Tech is no longer a supportive element. It is the last mile.
It's all about the tech. It's about the customer experience. As we say every episode, if you want to comment below on LinkedIn, or if you're watching this on YouTube, you can comment on YouTube. But best on LinkedIn, where we can get the conversation going. And go to Slido to ask a question that you want us to answer, or to vote on questions that other people have answered, and other bits and pieces like that. Lots of interactivity happening all over the web. Marek Rojecki from Last Mile Experts, thanks for being part of it today.
Thanks, Ian. Thanks, everyone. Hey everyone, hope you enjoyed this episode of The Last Mile Profits.
Make sure you subscribe, hit the subscribe button, and also the notifications bell so you get a notification every time we add a new video to this channel. Look forward to sharing more stuff with you on The Last Mile Profits.